Let me stay one night. I'll do anything, she begged. The storm raged behind her, but her eyes didn't. The rancher knew right away. She wasn't running from the cold. Caleb Ward wasn't always like this. Once, this ranch had laughter, a wife, a son, even hope. But that was before the fire. Before the night, everything burned down, and no one came to help. Now, Caleb trusted only silence and distance. So when this girl stood in his doorway, something inside him twisted. "Road's 10 miles east," he muttered. "Keep walking." She didn't move. "I won't make it," she said quietly. "Not tonight." Lightning cracked across the sky. For a split second, her face lit up, and Caleb saw something strange. Not fear, not weakness, control. "One night," she repeated. The wind howled. Caleb stepped aside. "Stay, but don't talk." She walked in like she already belonged there. And that was the first thing that felt wrong. She said her name was Lila. No last name, no explanation. Just Lila. She sat by the fire, drying her hands, watching everything. Not nervously, carefully. "You always this quiet?" she asked. Caleb didn't answer. She smiled faintly. "I can tell what kind of man you are," she said. That made him look at her. "And what kind is that?" "The kind who saves people, even when he pretends not to care." Caleb scoffed. "You don't know anything about me." "Maybe not," she said softly. "But I know you didn't lock the door." Caleb's jaw tightened. Hours passed. The storm got worse. But Lila didn't sleep. She just sat there, watching the windows, listening, waiting. "For what?" Caleb finally asked. Her eyes shifted to him. "For them." A pause. "Who?" Lila leaned closer to the fire. "You'll hear them before you see them." And just like that, the wind outside changed. At first, it sounded like thunder. But Caleb knew better. Engines. Low, heavy, approaching fast. He stood up immediately, grabbing his rifle. "You bring trouble here?" he snapped. Lila didn't flinch. They were already coming. Headlights pierced through the storm. 3 trucks. No hesitation, no slowing. They stopped right outside the ranch. Doors slammed. Boots hit mud. Caleb cursed under his breath. "How many?" "Enough," she said. A hard knock shook the door. Then a voice. "We know you're in there, girl." Caleb's eyes snapped to Lila. Girl? Not woman. Not stranger. Target. "You want to tell me what this is?" he growled. "Huh, huh." Lila stood slowly, and for the first time, she looked afraid. But not for herself. "For you. They won't leave," she said. "Not until they get me." "Why?" Caleb demanded. Lila hesitated. Then, "Because I ran." Another knock. Harder. "Last chance," the voice barked. Caleb checked his rifle. "You armed?" She shook her head. "Then stay behind me." She grabbed his wrist. "Caleb, if this goes wrong..." "How do you know my name?" Silence. "Too long." Then, "I told you. I know things." The door burst open. Gunfire exploded. The fight was fast, brutal. Caleb moved like a man who'd done this before and survived it. 2 men dropped before they even crossed the threshold. A third rushed in. Lila grabbed a broken chair leg and struck him across the head. Caleb noticed. Not panic, not hesitation. Precision. More shots outside. They were regrouping. "They're not amateurs," Caleb muttered. "I told you," Lila said. "They won't stop. Then we make them." He turned to her. "Why you?" She looked at him, and for the first time, her voice cracked. Because I saw something I wasn't supposed to. Another pause. What? Her lips parted, but the answer never came. Because suddenly, a spotlight flooded the entire house, and a voice echoed from outside. Bring her out, or we burn it all down. Caleb froze. Not again. The words hit him like a bullet. Burn it down. Memories rushed back. Fire, smoke, screams. Caleb's grip tightened. Not this time, he whispered. He turned to Leela. You saw something. What was it? She hesitated. Then finally, a list. What list? Names, people, important people. Her voice dropped. People who pay to make others disappear. Caleb's blood ran cold. And you took it? She nodded. It's in my head. Outside, gasoline splashed against the walls. They're serious, Caleb said. Lila stepped closer. This is where my deal comes in. He frowned. What deal? Her eyes locked onto his. When I said I'd do whatever you say, I meant it. Us. A beat. I need you to get me out alive. And then? She swallowed. And then you decide what I'm worth. Caleb stared at her. That wasn't desperation. That was a transaction. Flames ignited outside. The ranch groaned as heat wrapped around it. Caleb had seconds to decide. Walk away, like everyone else once did. Or fight. Again. For someone he didn't know. Someone who clearly wasn't telling him everything. He looked at Lila. You trust me? He asked. She nodded instantly. Then don't lie to me again. A beat. I won't. He kicked open the back door. Run when I say. Gunfire erupted again. Chaos. Smoke. Screams. And in the middle of it, Caleb realized something terrifying. They weren't trying to kill her. They were trying to take her alive. They made it to the old barn, breathing hard. Alive, for now, but surrounded. Lila leaned against the wall, shaking. You still haven't told me everything, Caleb said. She closed her eyes. I wasn't supposed to escape, she whispered. What does that mean? She looked at him, and this time, there was no control left. I wasn't just a witness, Caleb. A pause. I was part of them. Silence crashed between them. I memorized the list because I helped make it. Caleb stepped back. So all this. I'm trying to fix it, she cried. I didn't understand what they were doing until it was too late. Voices outside. Closer now. Caleb's mind raced. Trust her, or end it here. Lila met his gaze. If I die, those names die with me. A beat. And so does the truth. The barn doors shook. They were coming. Caleb loaded the last of his ammo. Then we don't let you die. He looked at her. But after this, no more secrets. She nodded, tears in her eyes. The doors burst open. Gunfire. Explosions of wood and dust. Caleb fought like a man with nothing left to lose. Because maybe, for the first time in years, he had something to protect again. One by one, the attackers fell. Until finally, silence. Smoke drifted through the broken barn. Lila stepped forward slowly. They're gone. Caleb lowered his rifle, but his eyes stayed on her. You said you'd do whatever I say. She nodded, voice trembling. Yes. He took a step closer. Not angry, not cold, just tired. Then live, he said. Morning didn't arrive all at once. It crept in slowly, like it wasn't sure this place deserved another day. The storm had passed, but it left scars behind. The fields were soaked, the fences broken, and the ranch barely holding itself together. Smoke still curled from the blackened edges of the barn, rising into the pale sky like a memory that refused to fade. Caleb stood near the fence, one hand resting on the rough wood. He hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard it again, the crackle of flames, the echoes of gunfire, the voices that once took everything from him. And yet, this time was different. This time, something survived. Behind him, the old screen door creaked open. Lila stepped out quietly. She had changed. Not just the clean clothes Caleb had given her, or the way she had tied her hair back neatly. It was something deeper. The fear that once lived in her eyes had settled into something steadier. Resolve. She walked toward him, her boots soft against the mud. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. They had already been through something words couldn't fully explain. At the edge of the road, an old pickup truck idled. Its engine hummed gently, a reminder that the world outside this broken ranch was still moving, still waiting. "That your ride?" Caleb asked, without turning. Lila nodded. "Yes." A pause stretched between them. Not awkward, just heavy. "I called someone before the storm got worse," she said. "A reporter, one of the few I can trust." Caleb glanced at her. "You trust people again now?" She gave a faint smile. "Not easily." Another pause. But enough. The wind moved through the fields, softer now, calmer. Lila stepped closer to the fence, standing beside him. Her eyes followed the horizon, where the sky was beginning to clear. "I keep thinking about what you said," she murmured. Caleb frowned slightly. "I said a lot of things." She shook her head. "No, the last thing." He didn't respond. But he remembered. "Then live." Lila took a slow breath. "I've spent so long trying to survive," she said. "Running, hiding, making deals, just to stay one step ahead." Her voice tightened slightly. "I forgot what it meant to actually live." Caleb's grip on the fence shifted. "That's usually how it goes." She looked at him. "But you didn't let me stay that way." He scoffed lightly. "You did that yourself." "No," she said firmly. "You gave me the chance." Their eyes met. And for a brief second, everything else disappeared. The wreckage, the danger, the past. Just two people standing in the quiet after chaos. "You could still walk away," Caleb said after a moment. "Disappear again. No one would find you." Lila shook her head immediately. "I don't want to disappear." Her voice was stronger now. "I want them exposed. Every name, every secret. I want it all dragged into the light." Caleb studied her. There was no hesitation, no doubt, just fire. "Then you're going to make powerful enemies," he said. "I already have," she replied softly. A small silence followed. Then she added, "But this time, I won't be alone." Caleb didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked out at the land, the same land he had hidden in for years. The same land he thought would be his end. "You won't," he said finally. Lila exhaled, like she had been holding that breath for a long time. The truck engine revved slightly in the distance. It was time. She turned toward it, then stopped. "Caleb." He looked at her. "You didn't take your deal," she said quietly. There was something vulnerable in her voice again. Something real. Caleb stepped closer, his boots crunching softly against the dirt. "I told you," he said. "I don't want what you were offering." Lila searched his face. "Then what do you want?" For a moment, he didn't answer. Didn't rush it. "Because this mattered." Finally, he spoke. "I want what you become." The words landed gently, but they carried weight. Lila's eyes softened, something unspoken passing between them. Gratitude. Respect. Maybe even something more, something neither of them was ready to name. She nodded slowly. I won't waste it. I know. Another pause. Then she did something unexpected. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. It wasn't dramatic, not desperate, just real. Caleb hesitated for a split second. Then, slowly, he returned it. A quiet, steady embrace between two people who had both lost too much and somehow found something worth holding on to again. When she pulled away, there were tears in her eyes. But she was smiling. I'll come back, she said. Caleb raised an eyebrow. That a promise? She tilted her head slightly. No. A small smile. A choice. He nodded. Good. She turned then, walking toward the truck. Each step steady. Certain. No more running. No more deals. Just purpose. She reached the door, paused, and looked back one last time. Caleb was still there, watching, not stopping her, not calling her back, just standing. And somehow, that meant more than anything. She got into the truck. The engine roared to life. And then, she was gone. Dust rose behind her as the road carried her forward into whatever came next. Caleb stood there long after the truck disappeared. The wind moved through the fields again. But this time, it didn't feel empty. He looked back at the ranch. Broken, burned, but still standing. Just like him. For the first time in years, Caleb turned toward the house and didn't feel the need to shut himself inside. The door creaked open as he stepped in. And this time, he left it that way. Because some nights bring storms. Some nights bring ghosts. But once in a while, a single night brings something unexpected. Something dangerous. Something real. And if you're lucky, something that reminds you you're not as alone as you thought.